team that's in there. Oh, for the team that's in there, I just can't thank the team that's been doing the in-servicing enough. Uh, and this will be the second to the last in-service. I'm going to handle the last in-service with Minda next week, and that's just all on me. But I just can't thank you enough. I want to give you some good news. The funding is really coming along better than we thought. I think it's entirely likely that long before the new semester starts, that you will be fully funded, which means the books will be free. And that's because of the publishers involved. Kudos to those two publishers. That's because of the uh, generosity of Anna Stoner and some other people that I'm talking into funding it. I fully suspect that it's going to be fully funded. So that is so wonderful. So you will get your books. Don't worry about that. Um, the big two things I want to say right now are teach yourself those sounds that Mary Jo is going to talk to you about first and use her techniques. Okay, so that's what you're up to first. For the people that are doing other than English, that's a whole nother ball game. We've got to talk to you separately. I don't want to take up the whole group's time on that, but that's going to be a whole ball game. We've got that worked out. And Bill may have something to say about that along the way, but we've got that worked out. So I just can't thank my in-servicing team enough. There's another group of people and that, by the way, includes Linda, the the two publishers. And as each of you do your book, please mention your publisher because they gave us quite a deal there. Okay, now in terms of what I have to say to you about the upcoming, talk to each other. Get on Chat TP, whatever that is. Oh my God, I'm okay. I'm a boomer. Live with it. Uh, get on that and talk to each other and have the strong people help the people that don't know it as well. We are using Mary Jo's book because Minda indicated some of you were a little worried about that and learning the right songs. Sounds. So do teach yourselves the right sounds, and that's kind of your what to do. If you want to be convinced that this is all going to work, there is a recording of when Tim and I did at one of the conferences, and do take a look at that, and that will get you into a teacher telling you all about how it really worked. So if there's any doubt in your mind, it really works. And the final thought before I get into other things, all those people that are saying don't use all the queuing systems. No, we are going to use all. I shouldn't have done that. We are going to use all the queuing systems, and but we're going to stick very carefully to Mary Jo's script about that. Now, I've said all that. My other advice to you, besides talking to each other, is do teachers do teach strategies. So as you're teaching the different strategies, and they're worked into the book for you. So do teach them and use them. And Minda will give you kind of guidance on where to start. So don't worry about that part, but let's get started. Now, I've talked way too long and I'm talking into Tim's time. So Tim's going to start off. And when he's done, I'll tell you who's next. So Tim, take it away. And thank you, Tim. Thank you. Thank you. It's all you.
Great. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for having me again, Minda and Sam. This is my second visit in our series here, and I guess what I would like to talk about for a few minutes is the area that I've spent a good part of my career on, which is reading fluency. We talk a lot about phonics, and of course, Mary Jo is probably the master of that topic in here in the United States. But what I'd like to tell you is that phonics is not enough. It's not enough for kids to be able to decode a word. They need to understand what the word means, and they need to do it fluently. And by fluency, we mean decoding automatically or effortlessly so that you can pay attention to the meaning of the text rather than trying to decode the word, but also this notion of prosody, reading with expression. What we know is that kids who, when they read with appropriate expression, tend to be our best comprehenders. And with every drop in expression, there's a drop in comprehension as well. So, how do we develop that with our students? Well, the main thing is practice. How do we develop fluency in anything? We practice it, whether it's, a favorite recipe in the kitchen or hitting a golf ball. You do it enough times, it becomes second nature. In reading, we have the two particular kinds of practice that we like to advocate. The first is the one we all know, it's wide reading. We need to encourage kids to read more. One study, a classic study, came out several years ago that found that two of the top three predictors of reading achievement worldwide were simply the amount of reading children did at home and in school. So we need to try to get our kids to read more. It's easier said than done, but whatever we can do to do that is can be very worthwhile. The second form of practice is repeated practice or repeated reading, or what I've come to call rehearsal. When we give kids a chance to practice something repeatedly, read a text once, twice, three, four, five times, not only do they get better on that piece that they practice, but it's the carryover effect that whatever they've learned, there's vestiges of what they've learned that carry over to something brand new. And that's true learning when you can carry over the learning that from one task to another. The artful question behind that, and first of all, I will just say that that's science. The artful question behind that is, how do we make that happen? And my answer to that was, well, rehearsal. If you're going to perform something, you need to rehearse it, right? And rehearsal is just a form of repeated readings, and that's what actually tied me to both Sam and David. What kinds of texts are meant to be performed? Well, poetry, number one, and of course, David is the master of that one. And song lyrics, readers' theater scripts, famous speeches from history. These are things that we want students to be able to read and read with expression. And in order to do that, they need to rehearse. And the rehearsal is not aimed at reading fast, but reading with expression. So that's the key: is repeated reading and wide reading. If we can build a curriculum around those two ideas, I think we're going to go a long way. So I'm going to turn it back to you, Stan, and who do you have next on our agenda?
Okay, I think I'm going to turn it over to David next, who is just he's poet laureate for the whole world. I don't know. Route 66 and all kinds of things. But he has two really good things he does for us in this series. And one is, of course, making poems and that kind of thing. But he also has scripts that are basically social studies and science. So he's done both things. So I want to give him a chance to put a good word in for what he does and any advice he might have for you as you carry out his wonderful, wonderful, wonderful pieces that he's put into this program. So, David, it's all you.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me back. I've been looking forward to this. I'll pick up to start with what Dr. Rasinski was saying about practice. And I even wrote a poem about that, practice, practice, practice. The day I got this horn, I hate the day that I was born. Nothing makes me more forlorn than practice, practice, practice. And people laugh at it, but the truth is, yeah, that's what it takes is practice. And I'll digress just a little bit, but when I was 10 years old, my parents bought me a trombone and they got me private lessons with a really good teacher. And the first day he came, I went to see him. He said, okay, here's how you play B flat. Now you go home this week and don't do another thing but play that same note um, until you can do it 10 times without missing it. Do that every day. And I came back a week later and I nailed B flat. And he said, okay, now we'll move on to the next note. And it wasn't very long before I was extremely fluent with that musical scale on the trombone. So as Dr. Rasinski says, it doesn't matter what you're doing, you have to practice. And we need to get that across to the teachers, not that they don't already know it, but by repeating that as our mantra, um, the more we can work it in, the better. And I have teacher friends who reserve the last 5 minutes of the day. And I know teachers are always crowded. Then there's never enough time of the day, and we all understand it. But the beauty of a poem or a concise, small, brief reading, whatever it is that it doesn't take that long. And as I mentioned earlier, Ken Nesbitt, who's a former United States Children's Poet Laureate, put out a book of poems that take 1 minute or less to read. So it doesn't take a long time to get this work in. And so some of these teachers say, if I get busy, if something comes up and I don't get to that last few minutes of the day, my kids remind me. They really do get into the habit and they look forward to it and they want it. So I'd like to talk more about that later, but for now, I'd just like to say, yeah, we practice and we find a way to do it. And if there's not enough time in the day, we do it anyway. We do it early, we do it late. Some teachers do it after school. Oh my gosh, you don't want to do that, but we have to sometimes, or before school or whenever. But practice. And I guess I'm back to you, Sam.
There we go. I had to unmute myself. Okay. I'll add one more idea to David's ideas on when to do it. I taught many a summer school. That's, I've worked virtually every summer of my teaching career. And there's always that thing called lunchtime, and somebody's always cutting in front of you. Okay. When that happens, you need to steal a little time and keep the kids um, busy doing something. And you know what? That read aloud or that poem, just having that book with you is a wonderful thing, because when that happens, and I promise you, if you teach summer school or anything like that, there's going to be times when you get cut in front of blase, blase, blase. That's just life. But and my teachers know that. But when that happens to you, if you've got your book in your hand, you've got something that'll keep them, they'll want to do it, and the rest. And that's something else I want to mention, and that's the motivation of all this. Our new mantra is that we are artfully teaching the science of reading. Everybody hearing that? If anybody asks you, what are you doing? You are artfully teaching the science of reading. And Tim and Chase came up with, I don't know who that belongs to, uh, uh, but uh, but it's our mantra. Okay, so you are artfully teaching the science of reading, and that's what we're all about. Now, Bill is going to take over in just a second. Uh, I okay, I know enough about how to do research design and the rest to know what a good one looks like. But I also know that we didn't need a good one for this project. We needed a great one. And I already put enough stuff on Tim. So I brought Bill in to get that done. And it still would come with Tim. Tim will be a co-author and the rest, but he'll have final says. But Bill will be doing this. Now on the mains part of the research, I think we've got a really good thing going on. And as long as all of you are returning those questionnaires that Minda sent out, we're good. But I know that Bill wants to address especially what might happen with the people that are trying it with other than in English. And that's going to be a specialty thing. And that may require bringing in another person. And Minda can say more about that. But so, Bill, as I vision this down the line, and this is not a mandate, this is a suggestion, that you probably will now have two papers to write. Because I just don't, I just see, I think it'd be just cleaner that way if we do the main project and then we do the project where teachers tried to because the main project we got down pat, but we are going to have to play a little with the other way. So, Phil, I'm talking over your time. Go for it. It's all you.
Thank you, Sam. And I'm envisioning this as a professional development session for teachers, so I'm not going to get lost in the weeds with research design and so forth. For second language learners, and this is as way of introduction because this is my first time appearing in front of you. Um, I've taught K through 12 schools in Sanford, Florida, as well as Orlando, Florida. That involves a large amount of second language learners. In fact, when I was teaching in Orlando, the majority of my students were second language learners. I've also been a university professor at universities in Little Rock, Arkansas, St. Louis, Missouri, and West Virginia. And so that involves large proportions. So bottom line with second language learners, here are some keys I want to highlight. And I noticed that this was one of the questions
Okay,
that you guys
I'm
were
going to
asking.
interfere with you just a second, Bill, to
Yeah,
talk about two more things you did.
yeah.
Uh, we have co-presented at different conferences, especially the one in Missouri, and I have visited Bill's classes, so I've seen him directly. And uh, I would add that Bill, for a time, served in the Missouri NEA, I'm sorry, ILA board. So he and I were co-board members. So, and have you ever published in Reading Research Quality, Bill?
Well, Tim and I both have. I feel very humble having you brag about me in front of Tim because Tim's on
Okay.
another level.
Okay. Well, when I wanted to bring in somebody that I knew would get us a good research design on both things, it was you. Okay. So I just wanted everybody to know that background as well. Yes, he's a friend, but he's also a colleague, and we've done many a thing together. And I've actually seen him teaching, and I've actually seen him presenting. So Bill is a good people. Bill, it's all you now.
Thank you very much, Sam. Just real briefly, and I'll follow up on this later in our session, but with second language learners, I want to first of all say that everything that you heard from David and Tim about the importance of engagement, the importance of practice, the importance of fluency, that's true for second language learners too. Too often times, I noted that it happens, second language learners get kind of talked down to as if they're dumb, as if second language learners is means that you're dumb and you're not. That's not at all what it means. So too often times that lack of engagement occurs. But also at the same time, along with practice comes direct and explicit instruction of the skills and knowledge that's needed, and that's needed too, which includes I know that Mindy and I were talking about knowledge of simple view of reading and the reading rope and so forth, and we're going to work with you on that. I know as we move forward. So you need it's kind of a balancing act. You need the explicit and direct instruction, but you also need the practice and the engagement, the motivation, the song, and more than anything, this is something that's neglected. Well, the direct instruction is often neglected, but also the engagement, the motivation, the strengths, the funds of knowledge of the students from their families is too often neglected. We want to come at it from an asset-based model, not a deficit-based model, which means draw on the strengths of the community and draw on the strengths of the family and draw on the strengths of the first language as an asset, not as a weakness.
Okay, and I will add that Mary Jo's way of teaching phonics is just downright brilliant. Okay, and I think actually I don't want to say this in front of the other group, but I'm going to anyway. I really think in some ways this group is going to have an easier time of it because you know the dialect. Okay, so and you'll just use Mary. You'll teach yourself and the children to do the dialect sounds, and they'll have those down pat right away. Where the main group is still going to, we have to watch yourself, main group, that we don't teach ourselves the wrong sounds. So start with the sounds Mary Jo teaches you and help each other with that. But I think they'll have an advantage. And I believe Minda will tell me more about this in a minute. But I believe we may have somebody coming aboard to help with this. That's or one way or another, we'll get someone aboard that will help with this. So nobody's going to be left out hanging. Okay. Now I'm going to now completely shut up and turn it back over to Minda, who is basically the heart of this project. I can't say enough about everything she's done, about her organization. We are getting, well, I'm not going to steal her thunder. All kinds of really good things are happening. I do want to say that there'll be, looks like the fundraising for the making these first round of books free is just about done. And if we do fundraising again, and we will all through that project until the project's over at the end of the semester, when we do that, I will be thinking we have two major goals. One, there are so many good reference books. Did you know that Mary Jo has a new book out, and I know Chase Young has a book out, and there are so many good reference books that I would like to see in your professional libraries. So there's those. And then once we get those in so that you've got something to work with, my next hope would be that we could continue to fundraise and get some library books in for the kids as well. So we're not at all done with this, but we're coming. This is almost sad now. We almost are done with it for the teaching sessions. So I'm going to, Minda, you've got the last word here, and anything you want to do, folks.
Yeah.
You've got plenty of scaffolding under you. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. Okay, so Linda, take over and close us out.
Thanks, Sam. Dear teachers, this has been just such a phenomenal experience working with this stellar group of people and bringing some of this knowledge just to you in your classrooms. And I know that there's still so much that we need to learn. I spoke to somebody over the weekend that said, the more you know how little you know, you can start to think you know something about it. And when you feel you don't know enough, there's always more to learn. And we are there for you to support you in all of those efforts. And I think I just wanted to mention something. I saw some of the questions was regarding how do I take this and adapt these sounds in my classroom? We just talked about the different sounds. And I wanted just to reiterate what Bill was saying. We need to use the strengths of our learners, the strengths that we already know is there, and they know their own language. So we need to see how we can almost piggyback on those sounds into when they move here in South Africa. For those who are with us who might not know this, in grade 4, our learners shift from their mother tongue language or home language to English as language of instruction. So that is such a critical time when we need to establish those fluency patterns in their reading to help them to get to reading for meaning or comprehension. And you can use those strengths of the learners in your classroom in grade 3. Help them to really have like I almost want to say, teach them how to make the different sounds. Show them how your mouth should look, all of those things, but in a fun and a game way. And we're going to help you after the holidays with some ideas on how you can do that. But use the strategies that we have learned from Mary Jo, like sort it and like build it. Build it is fantastic for your classrooms, teachers. So there's so much that we still want to share with you. And as Sam said, I have somebody that I'm talking to here in South Africa who is really a knowledgeable, also has been a professor working with home language instruction. And we want to bring him in and see if we can do a workshop with you guys just to help you with that transition. I think sometimes we have all these sort of like hurdles in our minds that we've got to get over. It's not that difficult. We are going to be there to help you. And what you have learned up to now has given you a good foundation. So really just work with that and continue to work and practice, practice, practice. And it's going to get you where we all want to go. Thanks, Sam. Sam, you still muted. Maybe just click that unmute button again.
Here, okay,
There we go.
yeah, there we go. I did that whole little talk to myself. Okay. Don't you love technology? Don't answer that, anyone. Okay, so I was in Canada in the French section, and everyone there spoke French. And the people that came with me said, "Well, Sam, there's an Italian restaurant in the French part here, and I think it's going to be very shocking to you." So my wife and I went there, and the waiter immediately, this is an Italian restaurant, we ate pizza from there. The waiter said, uh, "Parlez-vous français?" And then I said, "Non, je ne parle pas français." Well, he complimented me on my accent. Okay, I had 2 years of high school French, and obviously it didn't do much. But Michel Lay taught me uh, how to do those kinds of sounds. So I got a compliment on my accent because I was doing it that way. So yes, it's totally possible to teach yourself those kinds of sounds and just do it. Uh, oh, did I mention Michelle Lay's very good friend was Elvis Presley? And I'm serious. But thanks to Ms. Chalet, I could actually answer that question with the proper kind of accent. So don't worry about it all. And you've got friends, okay, and you will be supported. And in terms of getting results, wait do you just see the thing that Julie Armstrong did about what she did with her fifth graders, third, fourth, and fifth graders, and that'll take any doubt out of your mind. This is going to work, folks, and it's going to work big time. So thank you again, and it's time for Sam to finally shut up. Get off the mic, Sam. Bye. Okay, it's would you give us our final closing remarks?
Yeah. David still is going to share, I think, Sam.
I'm sorry.
David, I think it's your time to share now.
Oh, I did not know that. Well, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to be sharing, but are we talking about I have question number 11, the poetry, rhythm, and that question? I'll do that. I would like to point out that back to my music teacher who had me learn each thing before I could start putting them together and making my music more fluent. I went on, by the time I was 16, I was giving music lessons. And by the time I was 18, I was the principal trombonist in the symphony in Missouri, Springfield, Missouri. So practice, that's just whatever you're doing. And eventually, whatever was totally new and different in the beginning becomes the familiar, the automatic, uh, that comes easily and quickly and with pleasure. Uh, on the poetry, I wanted to talk a little bit about that because I know that if English is not the comfortable language or the first language at home, if you're working with some children who might struggle with the English rhymes. And of course, that's what the phonics are all about, and that's what Mary Jo talks about, and that's what I wrote all those poems for the book that we have coming out next month, 101 poems. And each poem chooses a different phoneme and repeats it. I went through uh, rhyming dictionaries in my own mind, and I made a list of every word I could think of, simple word, appropriate words that had that same sound in them. And then from that list, eventually was able to create a poem. And that's fine because I'll have 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 repetitions of that same sound, the subject sound in a short poem, and that works. But if you don't speak that, maybe that doesn't rhyme in Zulu, and I get that. Uh, but I don't think that means that we have to give up or that that we don't move forward, as Dr. Rasinski in his original fluency lesson indicated, and Tim, please correct me where I'm wrong here. You recommended poetry, but I think you also left room for other creative ways of getting kids reading, and it could be a short text, but not necessarily rhyming. It's just rhyming is easier in the English language. It's easier to remember, and that repetition comes a little more quickly. But to each his own, and so I'm thinking, for example, here is one from this is from the fluency development lesson, and it's called Mountain Time. And let me show you how you might do it. You can paraphrase some of this and use, in this case, the refrain as a chant. And so I'll read the poem, Mountain Time. Giant mountains reach as high as their peaks seem to pierce the sky. But mountains come and mountains go. Mountains look like they would never disappear from Earth forever, but mountains come and mountains go. Winds and rains wear away specks of mountains every day, but mountains come and mountains go. Mountains' time is very slow. Old ones leave, new ones grow. Mountains come and mountains go. Now, why couldn't you use that mountains come and mountains go as a chant, as a refrain that you repeat? And the others, the giant mountains reach so high, their peaks seem to pierce the sky. Why can't you say that in Zulu? Why can't you say that in some other language? But keep it concise, keep it poetic, keep it short. And if it rhymes, fine. If it doesn't, fine. But you still have a poem that is repeatable, that is rememberable, that you can teach and learn and repeat and practice. Maybe it's not the original poem, but it still, I think, can get where we're wanting to go. Here's one. Recite the poem entirely in your own language if you must. If just keep the lines short, concise, like a poem, because this one does have short lines. It's called Before We Could Tell Time, which I love the concept. Back before we had to worry about being on time someplace or what time of day it was or when the meeting was or whatever. So I said, we slept, we woke, we drank, we ate. No such thing as being late. Night was night, day was day. What time it was, no one could say. Being on time was not so tough. Any time was close enough. No one knew, no one could tell. Early, late, oh well. That is short, and it can be read in any language, I'm thinking, and still have something that you can repeat and practice and learn from. I have others, Minda, but I'm not. I don't want to take up too much time, but I think you'll find a number of samples like that in both in the Phonics book when it comes out, which is very, very soon now, and as well as in the one we're talking about. So we'll see if that's enough for now. Get back to you.
Thanks. Sam, I'm not sure who's next on the list. Can I pass it over to you or?
Okay, well, I think we've pretty well answered. Everyone had a turn to talk.
Yeah.
I think so. So unless somebody has a burning question, one of the panelists has one more thing to chime in with, I think we're pretty well ready to wrap things up.
Well, Sam, I'd like to know what I'm missing. I think we all are. We're not getting any immediate feedback. So I just said something, but
Mhm.
I'd have no idea how that went down with the teachers who are listening. Um, Linda, is there any way that you can help us? Are
Sure.
you getting any
Sure.
responses?
So let me quickly just give some maybe this is a bit it's like in our country we'll say it's mustard after the meal. I don't know if you have that saying in your country, but maybe just to reassure everybody that after each session we do send out a questionnaire on WhatsApp, which is like a Google folder, a Google questionnaire, Google form, where the teachers then answer questions. We keep it short because we know our teachers are so very, very busy, but we want to hear from them how they experienced. And all of that information is going through now to Bill and Sam, and we will be using that to create some research proposals, which I'm leaving on their side. So I hoped that some of our teachers have already sent some poems through to you. I've spoken to a school in Limpopo who have a fantastic idea and on poems using that, but in an artful way. So I'll be sharing that with you guys the moment that these things start to happen on the ground. I think currently our teachers are finding their feet. I don't know if there's maybe if somebody wants to share something, we've asked them to WhatsApp it on the group. But I know as it's end of the quarter, they are very busy with their testing.
Okay.
And I will mention that we have the panelists are done, okay, for the sessions, but Minda and I have one more session scheduled. Uh,
Yeah.
and I will look over all of those, she and I will look over all those things and try to, first of all, make sure each of the panelists gets feedback.
Yes.
And also that'd be like our final try for this part. And we're certainly not going to leave anybody hanging next semester. But on the other hand, we don't expect the panelists to come back and do all that. That'd be Minda. But so you will get that like final feedback. My own feedback is listening to everybody's remarks. I'm just kind of like, oh my gosh, this is like gem after gem after gem. And for me, is here's how to really do good teaching. As for the poems and the rest, wow, you just have that knack, David, uh,
Well,
uh, for doing that. And I think what's especially powerful for me is that, making that suggestion that, oh gosh, here's a repeating poem, just translate it into your own language with the repeating phrase and bingo,
Love
you
it.
got it.
Mm.
That's like, ha, giant light
And
bulb.
And Sam, and I'm thinking what David just shared with us, if you can do poems like that in the class, especially with the transition in language. I don't know, Bill, if you want to chime in here, but I think that is a fantastic way for a teacher, to bring those things in, because that's in our South African tradition. Kids are gonna, they're gonna say those words and sing and rhyme those things on their way home after
mhm.
school when they're walking back home. They're going to play those games with one another, chanting it. And I think that's just a wonderful way of getting it done.
And,
I
and
agree, and that's Carol Lee, for instance, and Tim would know this. Carol Lee out of Northwestern University has done outstanding research on how to use the first language as a bridge toward the second language as you draw on the strengths. And I agree 100%. The key thing that I would like to emphasize here, and it kind of draws on the research on how to use words that sound alike in one language to help you learn words in another language that's cognate, of course. Look for those learning opportunities. Look for ways of using language patterns, word similarities, to help you learn about fluency patterns, and vocabulary knowledge, from one language to the next. Always using the first language as a bridge, not a weakness.
okay, and let's not lose our mantra, folks. We've got it, and Chase and Tim got this phrase going and got it nosed on our side of the pond, and that is what we are doing is artfully teaching the science of reading. The artfully part means that our kids are not going to be sitting there doing boring things. We want to. I'm just noticing Minda. She's moving around, and you can't help it. And she's excited about it. So I think that's our. If you just keep that in the back of your mind, keep that phrase, and that's your elevator statement. By the way, what's going on with this project? Well, what's going on is we are artfully teaching the science of reading, and we are using Rasinski's ideas and Fresch's ideas and uh, Harrison's ideas to help us do that.
Well, Sam, I'm going to interrupt here for just for a second because
Sure.
I have to run off to a doctor appointment here in a minute. But this notion of artfully, one of the characteristics we talk about is creativity. The idea that David and Bill were talking about using poems in creative ways, different refrains and such. But as I think Mosima mentioned in one of her comments, teachers can write their own poems. There's nothing wrong with that. That's great.
Yeah.
And the next step is for children themselves to write poetry. The very nature of poetry makes it very, fairly simple. They're not terribly long, and the rhythm, all that, make it something easy for kids to learn to write themselves. In fact, I think David, you have a whole curriculum on how to teach children how to write poetry, and that's where we want to get to. I think use these kinds of texts in creative ways, and in that way, we're both doing the science and the art of teaching reading. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to leave. I've got a 9:45, well, a 20-minute in 20 minutes. But thank you again for allowing me to be part of this, and I'll look forward to the future as part of this august group. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you so much.
May I pick it up on that? Having kids write, because there's something I do with kids a lot is just the old think about it, talk about it, write about it. And we read better that which we have written. We know the words already. We know what we meant. We know how we want it to sound. So when I can go into a school, I say, okay, tell me, think about a favorite memory, the most embarrassing thing that ever happened to you, the scariest time, the funniest thing, anything. But think of something. And once you've thought about it and sort of remembered some of the details of it and what kind of a day it was or what you were wearing, whatever's appropriate. In my case, I ate too many tacos when I was 6 years old and I reeked of garlic, and the teacher moved me to the back of the room the next day because I wouldn't asphyxiate the rest of the kids. That after you thought about it, then you can talk about it. And you can stand up in front of a group, or you can tell your family, or you can tell a friend, but you can tell your story. Now, once you've told your story, you know what you're going to say. It's just like writing down what you just heard from yourself, and the writing becomes so much easier. So you can do this in steps. On day one, the teacher, who has no time whatever, says, well, while you're walking home or while you're at home tonight or whenever, think about something you'd like to tell us about or tell somebody about, and go through that business. That a day or two later, whenever you get to it, say, well, are you ready to talk about that? We'd love to hear what you have to say, and go through that business. And then finally, when you get to it, okay, I want you to write something about what you've just been thinking about, what you've just been talking about. Now write it. Now, it doesn't have to be a poem, but it can be. It can also be just a little short something, but basically the way you've been saying it, write that down. And then finally, okay, let's just read what you did. And you have created something that wasn't there, and it all came from up here, and it can't be wrong, whatever language the child is always going to be right. And I love that idea that you can't be wrong.
Okay, and I want to hold something up here, and it's an actual genuine pen. Okay, and the reason this is kind of like, listen, folks, what the latest research is showing is that the screenwriting and the screen reading does not have the same kind of impact as paper and pencil writing. So yeah, absolutely. And oh gosh. And one of the things I used to do back in the day was, and this is not my own idea. Uh, there are a couple of people I learned this from, and I'll put them. I'll make sure to give you links to their sites. Uh, uh, oh yes, uh, mine is in gel pen in beautiful color. So if I can't tell you how excited the kids get if you just get them a set of gel pens and like we get this to write with, and then on top of it it's in color. It's a huge deal. Okay. And I still have a gel pen that Ahsoka Nia gave me way back in the day when I was learning how to do writing. And there are people like Leah and I'm going to leave somebody out and they're going to hate me, but I have several really good friends who are doing this currently. So there's a lot of those kind of resources out there. But the most important thing here is that uh, the research is showing that we need to get back to that paper and pencil, paper and pen, paper and gel pen, and get excited about it. Okay, and you know the writer's greatest fear is that blank page. And what David just said about how to get kids to not worry about the blank page is just brilliant. Once you've got something to write, once you've got something to say, and I also back in the day did something called um, language experience, where you have the kids write out their own stories, uh, and I'll post that one again because I got some really interesting books out of that.
Mhm.
So uh, the reading, I'm glad this came up that reading writing connection is very powerful and it needs to be on paper.
Yes, yes, yes.
Would you mind if I make two quick
Please go,
points that we're
Bill.
going through? Number one, and when it comes to, because I saw a question about differentiate instruction and grouping
Mm,
in our prior questions. Um, there are times there's no hard and fast rule about always differentiating in your groups by in terms of struggling students together versus some advanced along with some struggling. Use it smartly. When you're doing intensive intervention, then of course that's when you would want to pair up your struggling readers with your struggling readers separate so it's not an embarrassment type of thing. That's intensive tiered intervention, similar to in the United States, we've got response intervention. But for what we're talking about here, that you heard David and Tim talk about and Sam talk about, I would actually recommend differentiating your group so that you've got some struggling readers with some more advanced readers, because students will often learn best when they're learning from each other, and more advanced readers can model and dialogue with struggling readers and help the struggling readers along. So
mm,
that's going through my head. Also, the importance of multimodal and multisensory learning is going through my head a lot as I listen to this.
yes.
So, bottom line that I would recommend for everyone listening to this that's one of your classroom teachers is remember that the myth of figuring out who is a particular style of learning, that learning styles thing, the myth of figuring out so and so is a visual learner, so everything has to be visual, blah, blah, blah. That's a
Mm,
myth. Don't do it. It's a lie. Here's what neuroscience says. What neuroscience says is that our brain is interconnected. Students learn best when they encounter language as well as concepts in multiple ways. The writing, the reading, the conversation, the dialogue, the visual. the connectivity, the multisensory, the touch, the creation of art, the music.
Mhm.
We learn best when we encounter the language in multiple ways. So give your students opportunities for dialogue, for music, for song, for dance, in multi-sensory, multimodal ways. And when it comes to digital, I'm not saying to throw away the digital. Think of the digital as a tool, as another text and another tool. If used well and used strategically, it can enhance learning. But if it is used poorly, then it can actually hinder learning. So
Correct.
do that smart.
Love it.
Bravo.
Thanks, Paul. Bravo.
Okay.
Sam, I maybe just there's one question that really I think I just want to spend a minute or two on. The question regarding how do we explain to maybe an HOD or somebody that we are doing what we are doing. Is this relevant to our CAPS, FAL language outcomes, which is part of our curriculum that the teachers have to complete here? And dear teachers, I just want to share with you that I think if you go and look at our requirements, you will find that it says phonics and word recognition, vocabulary development, reading fluency, spelling and word study, and oral language development. Those are all outcomes. That is part of the requisites that the education department is giving to us. And that's why I love this whole slogan of teaching the science of reading artfully that Sam's been talking about. So I think the best thing for you when you have to answer is to say that I am not adding to the CAPS curriculum. What we are teaching you here is not something that's an add-on or an extra. But this is, you are structuring what you're doing in the class on research-based methods to deliver these specific outcomes that the curriculum is requesting of you. So there's no fear about what we're doing. What we have been talking about is smack bang in the middle of what is expected of you as a teacher. And once again, just a last word from my side, find that 10 to 15 minutes every day in your class that you can do these things in an artful, fun way, but based on the science. And I'm so glad that Bill mentioned, don't don't try and do all those things that you thought maybe previously was important. We know how the brain works now. We know how these things work best. So do what we know, the newest and the latest science is showing us, but do it in an artful way, in a fun way. Our kids must enjoy the reading part of their education. The reading and writing must be the best part of what they do every day.
Okay. Well, I think you just wrapped it up for us, don't you? That's the perfect soundbite to end on. And my alarm just went off telling us that we're out of time anyway. But
Yep.
I think you just kind of nailed it there. Thank you. So
Thanks, Sam.
I think it's time for all of us to be saying our goodbyes.
Before we go, I just want to thank each one of you, and with Tim and Mary, that's not here. Just from our teacher side, this has been so phenomenal. We are having a break for the holidays now, so please, dear teachers, take care of yourself. Rest up well, but do take that time to go through the materials we've been talking about. We've got exciting things for you when we come back after the holiday term. So have a good rest. And once again, Sam, Bill, David, and then Tim and Mary, who's not here. You guys are just amazing. We are so thankful for you. Thank you for everything.
Put a plug
It's
in
been a pleasure.
for the two publishers. I know it's Benchmark and one other. What's Benchmark and
Stenhouse.
Stan.
Rutgers? Benchmark,
Stenhouse.
Stenhouse, and
That's
Benchmark.
Mary Jo and
Again,
me.
they have just been so supportive, and we couldn't have done this without them. So we got to put. I think that's a big thank you we want to put in there.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Sam. Thank you so much. Bill, you want to say last words before we say goodbye?
Last words would be, and I put this in the chat, that question that was asked also went to basic lesson design. Tying your objectives in with your standards and in with your assessments, making sure that your objectives can be assessed. That goes to a combination of formative and summative assessment, and that goes to formal and informal assessments. I can what I can do, I've got a ton of stuff on me, Amanda, that because I've taught about all this in my classes. I can share this with you, maybe re-record some videos that I've recorded from my prior classes, and you can use that to share with your teachers. So they don't have to have a formal professional development session like this. But what I have in mind is creation of kind of a bank of videos
That's a
that your
wonderful idea.
teachers can draw upon because I've already got those PowerPoints. It's just a matter of me if I were to do the videos that I've already recorded from my other classes, then I've already got them. But it might be awkward to share with your teachers when I'm referencing stuff from my other universities. But so it might take a little bit of time to re-record the videos, but for everything we've been talking about, like the acceptance, that's already been created and it's going through my mind.
Beautiful.
It's just like what we talked about with simple view of reading. I've already got that created. I just need to re-record the videos. So that's what was going through my mind. And what it goes through my mind with your teachers, remember teachers, the worst of the approaches to professional development is when it's a sit and get, sit around, get your professional development points. In the US, we do PD points,
Yes.
and then kind of forget about it. The best of professional development is ongoing, it's connective, and you've got the ability to reach out to keep working on this. So it's ongoing, it's a relationship thing, and it's not a sit and get type of thing. It's not a one-stop shop thing. And I know that on all of our parts, we envision this as an ongoing thing and a relational thing, not just a sit and get.
Thank you so much, Paul. Fantastic. David, last word from your side before we say goodbye.
Well, I just have enjoyed this opportunity to talk with your students, with your teachers
Yes.
about their students. I wish I could see the kids, but tell them that we all are thinking of them, and we hope that they have a good time learning more and more about reading and maybe writing their own and perhaps doing their own poems one of these days. And we'd love to see what they have to do.
Thank you, David. Thank you. Sam, you want to say goodbye finally
Yeah,
for the
sure.
term?
It's a very simple thing. This is not an end. This is
Yes,
the beginning.
beginning.
Next steps. And boy, am I looking forward to all this. And wow. Okay, so let's
Thank
be
you.
artfully teaching the science of reading. And Minda, you have to take the very last word here because
Yes, well,
we're way out of time. We got to say
yes.
you have to close it up here.
Okay, we're going to do that. Dear teachers, have a good holiday. We'll see you soon. And thank you to all our presenters. Take care of yourselves. See you in the future soon.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Okay,
everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Linda, call me. Okay, call me right
Will
after this.
do. Will
Okay.
do. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.